Okay, so got a group of people to do medieval combat video review. This is an HMB fight. Can you remind us who it's against? Because we got it written down.
It's Marcin Waszkielis from Poland and Jonathan Purviance.
Purviance?
Purviance, I don't know.
So Jonathan's on the left, and Marcin is on the right. Apologies if we have that wrong. Sorry, our Polish probably isn't great. The other thing I should point out is we got a group of 4 people here. None of us are really HMB fighters. I've done some HMB combat, not much. And I don't know that a lot of other folks in the room have HMB experience, so we should be very, very clear. We're just doing our best to analyze this combat without being active HMB participants yet. So most of us have an SCA background. I've done a little tiny bit of HMB combat, so we're going to figure this out. So I'm Avery from the SCA.
Sir Baird from the SCA.
Bjorn Zenfir from the SCA.
Andrew Fairfax from the SCA.
And this video is taken off of the HMB YouTube website. And again, we're just breaking this down for fun. Maybe we see some cool mechanics we understand. Maybe we bring an interesting perspective. Or maybe we have no idea what we're talking about. So, the way this combat works, it's HMB. So they're fighting with dull steel weapons. No thrusting allowed. But otherwise, it's full body target, I believe. I'm not sure, but I think ankles down is against the rules. And I'm not sure if limited grappling is allowed, but because this goes to 3 counted blows counted by the judges for what's a good blow. Spoilers. There's no grappling in this fight. I'm not sure if it's allowed. If people came to grappling, it would probably end quickly, even if it was allowed. So, not real sure how that works. Apologies. So let's take a quick look. And what we'll do is we'll go through every pass at speed in slow motion, and then we'll break down the mechanics as best as we can. So obviously these guys are both right-handed and fighting with bucklers. So we'll go to the first point. Okay, so I think that was a point, if I'm not mistaken. So let's go back and take a look at some of those Oop, I keep going forward instead of backwards. I believe we call that advancing to the rear. All right, so
I do think it's interesting that they posture like boxers.
Yeah.
There's a kind of a boxer
lot
posture,
of
that rotation between one hand and the other.
yeah.
That gives you kind of a boxer kind of feel to their footwork.
Yeah, they're definitely not. They're not necessarily on the balls of their feet, but they're fighting, pretty responsive with the footwork. I would suspect that having done some of this combat, I've done a lot of counted blow combat. I've done some with steel. When any blow counts, if it looks good, it can be pretty quick to lose a point. So you don't. If it was submission combat, you would wade in and just start throwing blows, probably.
Sure.
And a lot of SCA fighters, I think, also fighting with buckler and sword, because there's a power requirement for the hit, tend to be just a little bit more heavy-footed. But I think SCA fighters fighting with sword and buckler tend to be pretty light on their feet as well. I think they tend to settle down when they fight against someone with a bigger shield. So sword and buckler, it feels maybe a little bit more active, but again, I don't think any of them want to take that quick pinging shot off the helm for a point. The other thing that's not clear to me, but in this video, it looks like there's a pause between hits. So I don't think you can throw a 3-blow combo
Wham, 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 and then you're done.
and the fight's over. So I think there's a pause called between each.
Also, this guy on the left, he is crossing his feet. That's rare in any martial art to have a kind of a cross foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's doing it at
Yeah,
C
posture.
range, though, so it's not as big a deal.
He is, but this guy's moving forward.
Yeah.
And normally, when somebody's moving forward, you don't want to be in a cross foot position because that guy can come in faster. You want to be able to be obviously, we get shield on shield contact like that, and you're flying. So
Yeah, and the truth is that you see people cross their feet often in rapier combat or something where you're trying to make the smallest body target possible. But I think in a lot of power combat where there's grappling or the opportunity to push someone over, you don't see a lot of crossing your feet, especially in close range. In rapier, you see a lot of people say you should always cross your feet when stepping side to side, just because it doesn't open your torso up to being stabbed.
Yeah, because you get the sideways turn,
okay.
kind of motion.
Okay.
So it sort of turns your body further away.
Totally not.
But in this case, there's not a lot of thrusting in this anyway. They both
You're
have.
not worried about power generation. You're not worried about stability entirely necessarily.
Yeah. So
stability, power generation, the ability to move quickly if your opponent moves in quickly.
yeah. And speaking of moving in quickly, I think this is interesting the way that we see this. So the American fighter here on the right has waited, it looks like, for the Polish fighter to plant and then powers forward, and you see him raising the buckler for the head block because he sees the threat up here, and it looks like he's going for above the knee to me. It doesn't look like he's aiming for the shin because he's got it right.
Yeah.
So it looks like a knee shot. So maybe he's concerned about the lower leg targeting. I'm not sure, or he's concerned perhaps about the guy moving his foot back. But it looks like he's going for that knee shot, and then picks up the buckler hit, counters right into the Polish fellow's sword.
And he's trying to keep contact with the buckler the whole time.
Yeah, so he's trying to control feel of the Polish sword, so nothing's getting him clean. And then does that. He's fading out. He wants to get out as quick as possible. And again, what you want to do is, I believe, you want to make sure that your hits are super clear to the judges.
Now, if he is an SCA knight, like we had talked about earlier with the white belt, it could just be a matter of instinct taking over, because we don't allow for the knee, we don't allow for the shin, so it may have just been a body mechanic thing where it just happened and didn't realize it.
Might be, if he's an SCA knight. Also, a lot of the Americans in steel combat wear white belts. If they go to Europe, you can earn a white belt that way. So they're not necessarily SCA knights, but that a lot of them are, so that could be it. I'm not sure.
Is it a scoring thing, maybe? Maybe it's only worth half a point or something?
I believe for this, it's 3 blows anywhere. The rules have changed over the years, but I believe at this point, this is 2015, right? So I believe this one is 3 blows anywhere. Arms, legs, they all count the same.
Okay.
Gotcha.
If I'm not mistaken, and I might be. Seeing a lot of really good reads with the buckler. These guys are really reading each other's attacks really well, and they don't have a lot of time because they're fighting at that range. They're not throwing a lot of feints.
Well, not to mention
There's
the
the
fact
blow.
you can't see anything in one of these helmets. I mean, it's really tough.
I can imagine, because they're all like, so you got like one slit.
Yeah, I mean, when Guillaume and I play with the full plate, you can't see very much at all. It's hard. You basically kind of have to feel where the other guy is.
Yeah, you're kind of reading it off of the body mechanics as much as anything, right? Mm-hmm. So I think this is where a point gets scored by the judges, if I'm not mistaken, and I might be.
No, I think you're right.
The Polish fellow here is leading in with what looks like an offside. It looks like it's going to be coming in over here on the American's head, so that's why he's covering with the buckler here. And instead, it comes into the body there.
That's cool.
So that's the first real fake that I've seen. It looks like he's leaning in and he's going to throw. It looks like he's going to throw over his head into the American's right side, but instead he converts it to throw into the American's left side in the ribs.
Be interesting to see what his wrist mechanics are.
Yeah, right.
On that.
And if we look, he definitely takes it himself. But if we look at the judge in front of us, it looks like the judge is calling that as a good shot, right? And now the American smokes him in the neck.
Yeah.
I don't think that counts at this point. I might be mistaken. So it's either 1 for the Polish fellow or 1-1. I'm not sure at this point. Again, someone with better HMB experience should come join us next time.
Yeah.
Some good sportsmanship. I do love that sound of steel on steel.
Yeah.
Good hanging block. That's the second time he's done one of those hanging blocks of an onside shot. Mm-hmm. And you can see that looks like it's going to be a moulinet. It looks like an offside leg, looks like an offside shot, but they're all at range, so it's not a huge threat.
2, 3, 4. Wow.
I'd like to take a look at that one.
That was cool.
That was close. Yeah.
Well, let's see if it gets counted as a point. I think it does. I'm not sure.
Wait, are you in the...
Yeah, so I was fast forwarding to see if it counted as a point. But let's take a look at that in slow motion. Go back a little bit and run through that in slow-mo. So to me that looks like, oh man, that just looks like a thrust. So those first two shots up high don't get counted.
It looks like
Well, the first one was too high, but the second one looked like it should be good.
Well, so this shot, if we go frame by frame, and of course, you know, we're just getting...
Yeah, see, it's up too high.
Skips
kind of hits him in the helmet. Now, again, I'm not sure what the judging criteria are. It might be if your sword moves far enough and touches them anywhere, or it might be that it needs to connect perpendicular in a way that would cave in a helmet. I'm not 100% sure. That one looks like it hits pretty clean, but it's also really fast, and it doesn't, you know... and that looks like it maybe hits the arm.
Yeah.
But at that speed, it could have been the buckler, and maybe the judges can't tell, right? They don't have frame by frame. That second shot looks like it comes off the buckler.
Yeah. You can see his buckler.
And then hits him in the head. And then...
And that one comes in clean.
In the body.
Into the body, yeah.
Nice.
But I don't know that any of those are counted by the judges because you don't see the flags go up.
Yeah.
So I think what it really needs to be, if you're one of these combatants, I suspect what you need is a blow that's sort of undisputed. Right? Like, there's no question you definitely got that.
Do they have right-of-way rules like in fencing?
I don't believe so.
Oh, okay, all right.
I believe anyone can throw anytime they want. So this is the duck we were talking about. Definitely, now, if this was a real sword and real helmet, I don't think this would brain the fellow, right?
Mm-mm.
So he throws the shot. The guy ducks
Bang,
almost out of it. It sounds like you can hear it tag off the helmet a little bit.
You see a flag in the corner go up, I think.
It definitely makes it sound like it came off the helm. And then as we come out of slow motion, we can see... I think that's, you know, as the judges discussed, this, if I'm not mistaken, gets counted as a successful third blow. You can't have a musical workup like this without it actually being the win. And it's the win. Like, someone's got to, like, oh, when the Guns N' Roses kicks in, you know it. All right, so anyway, if you're an HMB fighter or an ACL fighter or an IMCF fighter or a steel fighter, come join us next time. We'd love to get your input.
Doesn't
Go for it.
I was gonna say, doesn't Kat do ACL or something like that?
She does, yeah, and she comes down. She has come down for one of these before, if I remember correctly.
Cool.
But you know, she also lives pretty far away, so
sure, yeah.
We're addressing you directly, Kat.
Yeah,
we're gonna.
If she watches the video, maybe she can send us some pointers and clarifications.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we'll probably ask her to do that in the comments. Cool. All right. Thanks.